Aha, well, let's see how this works. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of an experiment. Um, you hopefully the sound is there. I can see it in front of me on the mixer. That's good. I've been doing this for how long now? Like 112 episodes. Definitely 2 years. I didn't even pay attention to how long we're hammering through this, but hopefully there's a nice crew of people joining us in the chat. Hello everyone. Um, let's just not hold off. There's actually quite a bit to do tonight. I don't know how much we're gonna. Well, we will definitely get through it all, but it's going to be a snappy one. But I always say that, and sometimes it doesn't. So hopefully this is going to work. Hello. Someone said, Chris, you're saying there's an echo. I hope there's not an echo. Is there an echo? Tell me if there is. No, yes. Anyway, the chat will tell me whether the things are fixed or not. The audio only people will just deal with the chaos. I am going to get on with it. So, first of all, the COVID stats. Let's do this thing. So, you all know the deal. Welcome to RailNatter, everyone. So let's now scribble on. There we go. Right, so cycling is continuing to do quite well, which is nice. Bus services and road have sort of done a bit of a flipperoo. I don't know whether that's a bit of a perk or a quirk in the statistics, and that might be updated, but that's a bit weird. I don't know why road has dropped like that. Is it holiday again? Is it the bank holiday and people are travelling more by bus and less by road? Anyway, not sure about that. Rail is sort of smacking around here. So we reached a peak of, what was our peak? Our peak was here. I'm circling it in red. This peak, and the peak was 86%, which is it's all right. But we've kind of gone down and up, and we're just going to kind of roll along this. I presume the sinusoidal sort of rolling up and down is really a quirk of the fact that this is relative to the equivalent day pre-COVID year. But holidays and things don't exactly map across. So I think that's a bit of a bounce around. People are pointing out, Lin Manfu included, that actually we've been doing this for 113 weeks because there was an episode 0. Yeah, that's true. I should know that of my own podcast. So that's the COVID stats. The news. How's this all coming through? Is it fine? No echo? Everyone's happy? Marvellous. Excellent. I wasn't too late. I said I was going to be late. I apologise for being late. This might break in a few places because, as you'll shortly find out, there's an experimental element to this. But the news. Firstly, this guy. Not sure what else could be said. Audio only folk, you're going to have to tune in to the YouTube to understand what the heck. But that's all I have to say on that. Next up. The news is very much not in an order at all. So, fine, it happens. Let's have a look. So, Wales Rails, yes. People are still talking about, including Becca. So Becca and I had Becca, friend of the show. Hello, Becca Wilkes. Hello, Rebecca. Friend of the show at the National Wales. Did quite an interesting little piece. We had a proper chat. We recorded some little video bits to make it a multimedia piece. And yeah, we were chatting about the north to south Welsh railway map again. And we're definitely, for sure, going to have another episode on this in a while. And so yes, just stay tuned for that. When we do it, I'll probably actually make a press release out of it since it's got so interesting for a lot of people. I'll probably send it out to what I'll do is send it out in advance to Becca Wilkes and to a couple of BBC producers who I'm friendly with. And then everyone else can fight for the scraps. But Becca will be getting the exclusive because, obviously. It's a ridiculous story because it's off the back of it's just off the back of a RailNatter episode from over a year ago. But it's been interesting. And as a result of this increased interest, it prompted me to go in and have a look at what the specifics of an alignment might look like. So I've actually gone in and done some crane easting. So it might be a bit of a hybrid crane easting / Welsh Rail Network sort of Network 2050 type episode, and we can look at that in detail. We'll do a whole episode dedicated to looking at my route, talking about why it might be useful, how it might be staged in terms of construction, why actually it's far better than wasting money on Aberystwyth Carmarthen, and indeed why Aberystwyth Carmarthen is far better suited to a bus, using bus rather than rail, and wasting decades of planning effort and engineering effort on making a railway line isn't actually the right thing to do. It's an opportunity cost situation. So let's do that at some point in the future. We shall do that at some point in the future. By in the future, I mean when I finish doing the kind of the alignment design work, because it could be, I think it'd be quite interesting to look at that. So, next on the news, yes, Crossrail. People have been talking about Crossrail. Yes. So people ask, hello in the chat, by the way, and yes, do at me in so I can see and I can respond to your chatter. So Carl is saying, so this was more than a written form of that Railnapper episode. Yes, go find Becca Wilkes on Tinternet via Twitter or indeed just go to the national website. This is more. There's extra. Everyone else is just off the Railnapper episode. This is extra because Becca's great. She's a fantastic journalist. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this is a huge amount of clever investigative journalism, but she asked very good questions. It's patronising me to say clever. Becca knows exactly what she's doing. She really gets how all this stuff ties together. She asked excellent questions and got some interesting answers out of me, particularly related to buses, and asked a bit about HS2. No, this is extra on top of Railnatter. I strongly recommend you go and read that piece. Anyway, sorry, back to Crossrail. It's half opening. Thanks to Ian Visits for I kind of nicked this straight off his website. Ian, hello, I'm waving at you, top chap. Fares, so we got the fare zones in here. We got the fact that Bond Street ain't a thing for a while. It's coming though. We have what else do we have? We can see it sort of splitting out down to Heathrow, so hopefully that kills Heathrow Express. I'm hoping that makes it dead because it's a stupid service. So get rid of Heathrow Express. Just have it at Crossrail. No one will ever take Heathrow Express again. The line up to Reading. I mean, obviously this should also go to some Thames Valley stuff as well. Because that would be really useful, but yes. So this is good, but it should continue on to Ebbsfleet. This is good. Yeah, fine. What's the typo negative saying? Big fan of Crossrail's revolutionary new service in South London that you can see down on the bottom right in Zone 4 there. Yes, this bit. Revolutionary new service. Indeed. Yes. Hardy har. Also, you'll know it's split still because, as I kind of predicted, it was going to be. When did I predict this? It was before anyone really was sensibly talking about it. But I pointed out this ain't opening in full until May 23. I think I said that 2 years ago, and it's turned out to be correct. So that's good. It might delay further, but this project is a triumph and a disaster all at once. Like it shows that Britain, despite the most from an engineering perspective, not the most favourable, but from a political perspective, the most straightforward. Easy to deliver massive project has been a nightmare, and it shows that Britain cannot deliver major infrastructure successfully. We can't do it. A lot of people are saying, well, no, this shows we can. It's like, no, this shows we can't. I'm hoping that we've learned a lot of lessons from this and that Phase 1 HS2 will be much more successful. But frankly, all the meddling that's gone on, for me, shows that it's already kind of failed before it's even been opened and constructed. So... Jeff did a nice infographic and diagram of this. Excellent. Cool. People are asking which has better stations, Jubilee Line extension or Crossrail. The Jubilee Line extension is a very different scale. This is an enormous bit of railway infrastructure. It's far, far greater in scale and grander in capacity. So it's a very different thing, really. It's very different. Have I visited it? No, I haven't. I will visit it. I'm not visiting on day one. I don't care for... Although it's always fun to do that sort of stuff. I don't really care for turning up with all the Adenoidal enthusiasts. That was very mean, wasn't it? Because I want to see it just working. I want to see normal people working and how it looks in normal operation. So, no, I'll probably turn up a bit later and give my perception. I might tie it in as a news piece, or maybe do a bigger bit on it. I might ride from one end to the other and give you my thoughts. Who knows? But I won't be turning up on day one because I prefer to see these things when they're running kind of normally. You know, this a reminder, by the way. You'll see all the new stations step free to the train. All the existing stations step free to the platform. Why is that, you wonder? It's because Crossrail is an enormous failure of design. And that failure is that rather than doing the right thing, which is designing a train that would match the platform infrastructure that we have now, the standard that we have now, rather than that, they chose to just procure the standard bloody Aventra, which is just a glorified... it's just an Electrostar. They came up with a new name, but it's still just an Electrostar. So, you know, that's a very old train design platform, frankly. train platform rather than physical station platform. They chose to just do the easy thing, which was that. They had to do it because Thameslink had gone with Siemens. So they knew that politically they had to award Crossrail to Derby. The trouble is Derby cannot build... Well, they can build trains, but they cannot make trains that work. And that means, from a software perspective. And a substantial volume of the delays come from how bad the trains were. So, yeah, if they'd gone Stadler... Well, the trouble is Stadler hadn't decided to enter the market properly by that point. Everyone was being tentative. It's only really Merseyrail that have pioneered that, although Greater Anglia have actually ended up obviously introducing their trains first. The Stadlers, the Flirts. But this is hugely disappointing. And do you know why it's disappointing? It's because the cost to eventually deliver full level boarding across the whole of Crossrail will be enormous, because you'll have to lift the tracks through the stations, which will be, for slab track, very difficult. Not least because you'll end up with non-compliances at the ends of the platforms if you have to deal with gauging when you enter the tunnels. It might be that it's not possible because of the gauge clearance in the tunnels. It's just an enormously... you're having to lift the track by 200 millimeters. Just an enormously stupid decision that was made early in Crossrail. So I have mixed feelings about Crossrail. Obviously, it's fantastic. It's a huge and triumphal piece of railway infrastructure, but no, this is a serious failure. Very, very problematic. If you want to understand more about this, go back to my level boarding episode where I can go into great detail about it. Right, so that's Crossrail. Oh, doing some fun news, and Stadler. Hello, Stadler, friends of the show. I don't know if you are. I need to get someone from Stadler to come and join us and chat about how it feels getting involved in the rail market in the UK, because it's hard. It's a strange... Well, the GB market is a very weird one. Anyway, 30 of these COCOs. We've been talking about the fact that we need a COCO locomotive for freight locomotive for the network, and indeed, Stadler are providing. I think it's the Eurodual platform. They're going to be called Class 99s, which is fun. That's a fun name for them. They're going to be 30 of them being delivered from 2025. Well, I put an asterisk there because that invariably might well get delayed, but we'll see. But this is an interesting... So it's tri-mode, right? Now, that means pan. I think it means battery. And does it also mean it has a genset, a diesel genset in its tummy somewhere? I think that's presumably the tri-mode way. That's they're going to be that is the three sources of juice. I believe so. B cross. Wait a minute. Socorro is repeating a joke from the Discord. These trains don't look like they'd float. Nope. It was probably better in context. But anyway, Martha Lauren loved a 99 from the ice cream van. Yep. Richard Smith instantly dislikes the 99s for stealing the tops number that rightly is reserved to Sea-Link ships, and I will only forgive them if they name them after the original Class 99s. Yeah, that's a legit, fair enough statement. Martha Lauren making pansexual jokes, lovely. Thoughts on the 99s fully replacing the 66 eventually? Well, yeah, for sure. I would quite like it if these became they're 75 mile an hour locomotives, so they're decent. These are solid locos. I'd be interested to know exactly what the axle load is and what they'll put through the track, given all the extra gubbins they've got to squeeze into a very tight package. Obviously, that'll threaten their reliability as well over a straightforward electric locomotive. So these are a bit of a messy compromise, in honesty. But yeah, let's see. Let's see. Obviously, it's a good loco and fine, all good, lovely stuff. So, let's keep cracking. It's 1:15 already, folks. Let's do this. So what else? Shaps Strops. Shaps categorically rules out Underground Manchester Station. Well, he can attempt to categorically rule out the Underground Manchester Station, but that doesn't mean that that he has any control over it. I hope that that Royal Assent is thrown out so that this doesn't happen. But Phase 2B is working its way through Parliament, and I think this is a justifiable thing to stop it managing to get through Parliament, because the design is wrong if they go for an above ground station. The design will be wrong. Completely a complete failure of design. So yeah, let's see. Oh goodness, all the chat. Yes, terrible Manchester decision, absolutely. Just hopeless. So yes, the HS2 station in Manchester should be an integrated high speed through station underneath Piccadilly. For all sorts of reasons. Some of them are social for Manchester, lots of them obvious operational reasons, like pretty much all terminal stations are being redesigned as through stations wherever possible. So what else have we got? Comeback for Sick Man of Europe. Hooray! Yeah, look, it's the UK. We're this funny little light blue trace here, and as you can see, we're kind of bouncing around 2017 to 2020. mixture of doing all right and then doing not so great and then doing all right. Weird instability of cyclical stuff, which is very surprising. I think some of that is like the good grief, let's do a load of stuff before Brexit happens. I think that's a lot of that. And then, as you can see, pandemic hit us about the same as it hit everywhere else. And then since then, look, our general goods exports, which is a good indicator of the health of the broader economy, have just flatlined. Well, they haven't flatlined; they've been bouncing all over the place. But the average, if you run a kind of an annual, a rolling 5-year average or a rolling 1-year average, actually, sorry, you'll see that the world and whatever advanced economies actually means. This is from the FT, have gone up, pretty similar pattern, and we're bouncing and scratching around in the bottom. So if anyone wants to wonder what the UK economy is doing, it is being a sick. We are the sick man of Europe once more, which is exciting, isn't it? Taking us back to our historic roots, just like the Tories won. Talking of the FT. Jen has hopped over to the FT from the Manchester Evening News. As you know, hello Jen, and did an excellent piece on buses and a good little thread on Twitter as well. So hop over and have a look. And we've put up bus trends quite a lot, but it's just worth reminding ourselves: private car ownership in Britain going up, bus journeys in London also going up, and indeed sort of really fast going up once TfL became a proper thing, accelerating pretty rapidly. We look to bus journeys in cities outside of London. Oh dear. Dropping through the floor. If anyone's wondering why this scale is here, this is a log scale. This is important when you're looking at percentages. Like if you use linear scale, this would not be a fair mapping. Whereas you can see that the polar opposite things have happened in London and inside and outside the M25, essentially, thanks to deregulation. So, yes. Let's see. What people are saying some things. Wait a minute. Monty. In Italy, we're putting all major high-speed stations underground. Yeah, absolutely, Monty. Yeah. Thanks for your thoughts. Lin Manfu's pointing out the graphs from Jen's bus article is superb, so it's worth the subscription. To be honest, journalists like Jen and indeed John Byrne-Murdoch, who kind of does all the data sort of side of things, are encouraging me to get a subscription, and so perhaps that's what we should do. Is a few of us, maybe it's worth subscribing to the FT. I need to have a look at pricing and how much it is. But to be honest, I've been very impressed by the FT's journalism of late. Some really good stuff coming at them through the pandemic and with Jen doing bus related stuff. Very good stuff. Xander Veach is saying something interesting, which is mobile barcode tickets have now overtaken Magstripe paper tickets. Trainline PLC on Twitter have the breakdown. That's interesting. Oh, that's a thread I need to go into. Thanks, Xander. Pop the thread on at me in tag me in Discord and send me the thread on the main chat or in the news if you like. That's an interesting thing to talk about. What else have we got? Cars. Yes. Has this actually happened? There's a discussion of MOTs facing the axe in yet more. Here's how to basically not do anything, but make it the worst way to not do anything. This is via the eye leaking that it's all about cars. Is that the MOTs are going to face the axe? I have mixed feelings about this. I'm not even going to go into it, but it was mentioned, and I don't know if it's actually happened, but very frustrating. So, streets, flights of fancy. Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. Coventry's. This is a quote from Andy Street. Coventry's urban airport is open. What? No, I don't think it is. What they've done is, it appears that they've opened a snazzy roundabout, another world first for the West Midlands. As we enter a new age of transport and an age of zero emissions travel, this is a revolutionary development for transport logistics and, of course, the environment. What a load of bollocks. What? Flying taxis are stupid. If people crash cars into each other, and including taxis, if these things are crashing into each other in a single 2D plane, just think what it's going to be like when they're smashing into each other in a 3D space. Junk raining from the skies onto people. Everyone will have to wear hard hats. It's just a dreadful, stupid idea. And also, it takes a huge amount of energy to get stuff up into the atmosphere. So why waste all that energy? And to make them safe, all the materials, all the it's just a junk idea. And why on earth is this a good thing? It appears to be a bar with a... No, that's just it. It's just a circular taxi rank with a bar in the middle. And there is a circle with it's just a stupid idea. I don't know. Just absolute nonsense. Now, this is something I've been tweeting. I was tweeting about this quite a lot back in the before times, before I did this thing, and actually, to be honest, before I had before I had a really big following on Twitter, back when it was kind of in the thousands. Now it's 17,000. Weird. Why do people listen to me? I don't know. Anyway, I was talking about the fact that the Chinese are coming, and what's quite interesting is that from a railway's perspective. This is a mistranslation, by the way. This should say trains, not troops. It should say trains. There are trains. So this is interesting. Leo Express, which is a Czech operator, have terminated their contract to acquire Chinese Sirius trains, not troops. Trains. I don't know the details behind this. I'd be interested to see what the chat is in the Discord about it. But it seems that they're not, the operator's not happy with the quality and appears to be terminating the contract either before, just taking what trains have been delivered so far, or perhaps it's just the first order and they've terminated additional orders, or maybe they've terminated the whole lot and they're acquiring new trains. I don't know. Clearly they're not happy with the quality, which is interesting. So, I was talking about Chinese trains. I actually referred to this particular unit. There was a version of this that was completely black, in test conditions on the test circuit in the Czech Republic, in Czechia, and I was saying that this is happening. These trains are taking over where European operators couldn't. Oh yeah, you're right. Fleet, not trains. It should be Chinese fleet remains. It's trains, troops. Who knows? Anyway, thanks, Richard. Surely you can't be serious. Thank you. Chinese progress stalls. Progress into Europe has stalled, which is interesting. We'll perhaps dig into this if I get more information for next time. But on the Discord, chat about this. At me in if you've got a particularly interesting insight, because I'm interested to know exactly what's going on. Oh, another thing, Global Railway Review here with a piece of news. I screenshot these to try and make sure I'm crediting the news providers, which is why I do sort of screenshots like this, because it's things that I've picked up on and I just screenshot and dump them in. Hopefully this is all right and doesn't annoy you, but generally I do it to try and kind of mix it around, credit the various kind of news agencies that pick up railway news. So Atkins have completed 1,000 accessibility audits of UK railway stations. This is interesting. This is part of the stuff that was announced by the GBR. The William Schatz review, and sort of was tangentially interesting from a level boarding perspective. I'm interested to know to what extent they will be looking at platforms specifically in this, and whether they're just going to be looking at more like AFA related stuff, lifts, tactiles, wayfinding, that sort of stuff. It's interesting. So they've done 1,000. Obviously, there are 2,500 stations in the UK. Yes, those buffers are dreadful, Richard. In any case, that's happening. So they've done 1,000. They've got more to do. I'm interested to see what the report will be, what the report output will be. That's certainly something we'll pick through in detail in this. Now right, that's the news. So, hello everyone. Good evening. I'm in the Railway Museum. Look, I'm in the station hall, and I've been very clever because you thought it was a live one, but it sort of is, but with pre-recorded bits. Here's me. Over here is behind me is Tim doing some interviews. There he is. And behind over here is the Explorer Station setup. So they've got VR set on some pacer seats. There's a signal box which has got all the gubbins in it. There's feedback station over there. Actually, there's two VR stations, because over there are two structural suitcases for people to hang on to not fall over. What is all this about? What's it relevant to? How does it tie into the new modular or hub station proposals? When are they happening? What on earth has it got to do with Glasshoughton? All these questions and more, I shall be answering hopefully in the next hour on a very ad hoc and unprepared rail matter, but hopefully it'll tie together a bit. Anyway, without further ado, welcome to tonight's rail matter. And as the Intercity 225 fades away. Oh yeah, some of you might remember that I did a sort of a thread a couple of weeks back as part of a bit of a campaign, as I was doing, supporting. There's a comms team a comms company who are supporting and facilitating a big consultation called Explore Station, and as part of that, they wanted to open the conversation up and raise a bit of interest in the consultation. So there's this sort of hashtag Great British Station thing with a ticket. Where is it? Mine's behind me somewhere. Where have I put it? I put it somewhere clever. I've entirely forgotten where that is. Never mind. Anyway, so yeah, they've done that. They've yes, and so I slightly subverted the idea, because there are lots of people like, this big station and it's great, and for me it's like, well, okay, yeah, but I don't really have a favourite station, because they're all different for different reasons, and they all have value in various ways. So I'm going to go to one that's near me, that's new, because it looks at the fact, build it and they will come. But it's also a bit pants, whilst also having a huge amount of opportunity and massively exceeded demand when it was open. So this was good. So the statement I had was, this newish station is in a mostly forgotten corner of West Yorkshire, embodies the phrase "build it and they will come" perfectly. So indeed, that was my reason for travel. I picked Glasshoughton as my station, and that's my name, which because it just appeared in the credits, and I end up, you can't avoid seeing my stupid name appearing all over the place. My middle name's Alid, by the way, just in case anyone wants that little tidbit for you. Anyway, more. Yes. First of all, yes. Right, so before we talk about Glasshoughton, let us... Oh, Victoria is visiting the Explorer Station Gallery next week. What can you expect? We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll do it for a variety of reasons. We'll do it. I've got videos, and I'll try and explain through those. It's going to involve a little bit of me like muting and unmuting my desktop audio, because I think it's going to be really loud and quiet in different places. As I say, I've just literally threw this together in about 20 minutes because I've got my lovely niece staying with us. So I've been minimising non-niece time the last couple of days. So let's very quickly have a quick history of repeatable station design, because that's what this is all about. This episode's all about Network Rail's new repeatable station design. I was at an event this morning, hence why I was at the NRM. And so this is the reason I turned this from a pre-recording to a live, is because it will allow me to talk about what I spoke to all sorts of people who are involved. I spoke to Network Rail, I spoke to the Design Council, I spoke to Network Rail Buildings and Architecture team, I spoke to 7N, who are the architects, Ben at 7N Architects from Edinburgh. Had a nice chat with Ben. Ben kind of is like someone I could have been, it's kind of like the life I could have had. We were both born in the same place, probably around about the same time. He's a young lad, actually, I'm young, Basically, the two of us have a similar sort of pathway, except he went to architecture, which I was interested in when I was much younger. I went to engineering. Very interesting. Anyway, we had good chats. Had lots of good chats, and I'm hoping that we'll do a Q&A, by the way, and that in that Q&A, anything I've not covered in this Gubbins, you can then ask me, and I'll try and cover it. But I'm going to try and cover everything I've chatted about within this. First of all, we're going to have a very, very quick history of repeatable station design. So, yeah, we're going to start with these. So, this is where it's loud. So, good grief. Right, so I'm going to restart that. Good grief. Let's do that. So, Modex Stations. So these are... No. Oh, this is harder than I thought. I'm trying to master the dark arts. Let's start there. Right. Modex Stations, here they are. So this is interesting. This is 1959. This is kind of BR era. You might recognise some of these sort of prefabricated elements around rectangular grid, paired column. You might see quite a few of these around. They still certainly exist. This is one. This is one within West Yorkshire, actually, by the sort of metro area blue and white sign. Wait a minute, where is that? Oh, actually, is that Castleford? Could be, couldn't it? I think it might be, Is it? Or maybe it's... No, it can't be, because Castleford got a big new thing. Plus, also, this is electrified, so no, it can't be Castleford. But anyway, wherever it is, it looks like it's West Yorkshire Metro. Anywho. Right, so those are the Modex Stations. That was 1959. So, and indeed, there were other modular systems before that. So even going back, right back to the... Oh, let's do... If I click back... How do I... Yes, okay, good. Oh, I need to get rid of the scribbles. Good. Now if I... Oh, now, wait. Oh, good grief. Maybe I should just not scribble. I need to remind myself what the play and pause... I'll map play and pause into the thing for the future. It's fine. Anyway, so I'm going to just run this on loop. So, Modex Stations. Then in 1965, you had Class, which a lot of people should be very familiar with. These sort of, again, modular. Then 1970s, designed for the 70s, a bit more steel, more glass. Then there was the response to that, but it transitioned into kind of still having the square elements, but with neo-vernacular brick in the late 70s. And then everyone got Tory and decided to respond to that through the 1980s and 90s with this sort of inverted commas small and traditional style, with this sort of, let's make it like, pastiche, which I was not a fan of. Then in 2006, you got the Modular Station, which I like, but was not hugely successful. through the kind of the early 2000s. I was actually involved in Corby Modular Station. I kind of dealt with that, or the aftermath of that. I wasn't at Atkins when it was actually built, but kind of the aftermath of dealing with it when we were doubling Kettering to Corby when I was at Atkins. And and actually usefully, I was chatting to Anthony Dewar, who's kind of head of buildings and architecture at Network Rail. He was saying that a lot was learned from this. So even though this has sort of died a death, it wasn't wasted. So not only are there quite a few stations that are kind of fine with this, but also the Network Rail has learned a lot from what did and didn't work with this. And I think. If people are interested to know what my favourite is, I like Clasp, or rather I like what Clasp was aiming to do, but I think this one here, this one, the vernacular brick, is probably my favourite because it's quite nice. Anyway, right, enough of that. So that's the history of sort of repeatable station designs. But what about the hub station concept? What is this? What is it? Let's firstly, I can put my little face up if you like. Shall I put my little face up? I'm up here. Hi, everyone. Martha, I fully agree. The 90s stations are pretty hideous. I hate pastiche. Sometimes pastiche can be funny or fun, mostly funny. But by and large, I can't think of pastiche architecture that I'm a fan of. I generally despise it. For example, most new build houses in Britain I hate. Certainly. Thatcher era onwards, Help to Buy onwards, houses started looking like cottages. They had tiny windows and they're horrible. So here is an example of a little snapshot of what these will look like. And I had a VR headset on my head earlier. I'll explain that shortly. To have a kind of a wander around, it was quite interesting. It was nice to explore it. But what is the actual concept? What has 7N done? What is Network Rail doing? What's the design council doing? How is this going to function? What's the point of it? So. This is the start of the idea. Is that it's for a long time we've looked at railways as stations are a gateway, right? And gateways can be traversed in both directions. And for a long time we've only really looked at the going into the railway, into the railway environment, and not really thought about coming out again. And the point of the kind of the grounding feature within this design language is actually to integrate stations, small to medium stations. This isn't for big stations. This is for small to medium stations. So it's not even sort of big-ish stations. This is small to medium. But that still covers, I think, the best part of 2,000 stations or so. So it's still a huge number of stations that this potentially covers. And the idea is that you embed the station as a bit as the heart of the community, as a centre, as a focal point, as railways should be, as kind of heavy rail public transport should be. The focus of, and it's reminding people that, the permanence of the railway. So yeah, and I'll talk about how successful I think this is going to be at the end in the Q&A, I'm sure. So solve and save your questions. But, so this is the idea of it. It's, community at the heart of every station, and sort of thinking about what communities do, what are things that people want, what do they like, how is this going to fit into kind of the idea of a modular system. Right, okay. Then it's combining that with the kit of parts. So, you've got, actually there are 5 elements. I can't exactly remember. It's like the station bits, the framework, the landscape, the canopy, and the clock tower. I think there's like 5 elements. Ben, forgive me for having kind of forgotten exactly what the 5 are, but this is an example of them. And it really is supposed to be like a kit of parts. There's going to be a huge kit of parts. They'll all be provided as a sort of a BIM library. So there'll be a CAD model with all these elements to be pulled out in 3D and used as required by the design houses, by the Arcadis, Atkins, Jacobs. Arup are actually supporting this. So Arup kind of know what the deal is, but all the other design houses need to pay attention to this stuff. In any case. So you've got a kit of parts, literally like a Hornby or like an IKEA sort of set. All these bits and pieces being pulled. So you've got the landscape element. You've got the sort of the bits and pieces that will sit around. So you've got bike racks. You've got ticket gates. You've got sort of sheltered seating, lampposts. All these sorts of features tying in with the canopy. Tying in with the connecting canopies, and then the actual final canopy, the PV canopy. You've got the sort of the boxes that things can be in, end structural points that hold the thing up, different, and there are different material choices as well that all this fit together. And then there's a short and kind of a tall version of the clock tower. The centerpiece is that railways become part of the community, in a visible part of the community. They don't hide sheepishly in a corner with a couple of bus shelters. They become It's like, hello, we're the railway. You should want to travel with us. Actually, things are going pretty. Things are pretty good. It's pretty good. So, Raphael points out an excellent episode of Dr. David Turner's Transport Tavern, where Mr. Tim Dunn joined and talked about railway stations from June 2020. Yeah, it's a really good companion to this episode. Actually, go watch that. Friend of the show, Tim and I, lovely to see him today. He was out and about. So have a look at this in a bit more detail. Is the idea that this then is assembled, it's put together. You've got the kind of the clock tower here. You've got the canopy elements. You've got the kind of the landscaping. Okay, yeah, here are their car parks, but actually there's the idea. Okay, the car parks are fine, but actually they shouldn't block the way that this system fits together. And they're showing that the landscape element should be connected to, coherent with the rest of the station. It's showing how these parts can be assembled. You've got the bike bits, and this will be put together within a design guide, much like the Network Rail wayfinding design guide that I think I tweeted about a long time ago. PV is photovoltaic, yes. So here is an example of what those little pods that were being mentioned a couple of slides back. I'm going to jump back a couple of slides. These sort of pods here, these modular things, again, they can be used for different things. They're different opportunities. So you can have a waiting pod, florist pod, coffee pod, just an examples of how these, they're not wanting to be too prescriptive. There's a balance that was struck, and in the case of the Network Rail modular stations from the mid-2000s, this was understood to be they were too prescriptive in literally how the things will fit together, in the manufacturers of these things. And the 7N and Network Rail are wanting to be less prescriptive and more, this is the layout, this is what it should look like, here's the 3D stuff. But actually it can be put together theoretically by any contractor, any fabricator can get involved in building this stuff. And also that it can be flexible to the needs of the community, because ultimately too much rigidity in its use and it won't fit with what the community wants out of the station. So there's that balance. And to answer the question that Victoria's just put in, should the station architecture change if frequency is increased? Well, the point of this is that so here, the DFT categorizes stations by usage, and that can change based if a station is expanding, that can change. And so, for example, you've got category D, E, and F stations, and you can see the scale. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of major canopy sections. Now there's only 3 for the category E, just 2 for the category F. You can see that it actually can flex based on the needs, the capacity needs. So you can see this is a much larger sort of station for the category D. Category F is much less in terms of the facilities, much reduced, but still the same design language, the same sort of visual aesthetic that you get. And you can see that for there are options for curved platforms. They're showing how that works. They're showing how this it might work for if there's a high embankment. You might have sort of stuff at the top and then stuff kind of connecting down, and how it might work. So sorry, here's the stuff at the top, and then how here at the bottom, and how that you then get up to the station. A bit easier here, showing what it might look like, how it is in a cutting, how that would look. And so you see the point of this is that it's flexible, that it's a system that the design language is coherent, but it can mix and be adaptable. Exactly, modular can be a little bit of a misnomer in that you think it's just sections that are being applied. It's a kit of parts. So it's not so much just modules that you swap in and swap out. It's a kit of parts that you can play with that has more flexibility than Network Rail's modular stations did. So this is talking about the kit and its different configurations and how that pulls together. And so the look, they've updated these visuals. These visuals aren't the ones from a year ago. They've actually updated them. So they're kind of giving a bit more of a feel for the texture of how these look. With the PVs above and all this sort of stuff. And again, with a bit of a look at the materials, so you can see the materials in action. I like this. I'm going to be absolutely clear. I like this. I like these a lot. I like the design approach. I like the architecture team who are working on it. I think they have exactly the right idea for what's going on here. Yeah, it's lots of really good stuff. Here's fake Repeatable station, and you can see kind of what the connecting. Okay, there's always the renderite risk, right, of the fact that you've got vegetation and then it turns into full peri bar. But, if it even approaches looking like this, it'd be a much more appealing, pleasant space to spend time in. there's a larger station, and then again here's a smaller station. A much smaller station, kind of that might be a category D. This looks more like a category E. Smaller station, less of a heavy footprint. In this case, you can see they've omitted the clock tower because durability doesn't necessarily also just relate to the railway. It might be that you've got a really NIMBY bunch of people who are not interested in the landmark clock tower. Fine. Planning can get around that by just omitting it. So the kit of parts is flexible in that way, which I like. Tim Barnes asking what the point of the clock tower is. All I can say is go and watch the Transport Tavern episode where Tim talks about clock towers. Clock towers are an incredibly important unifying feature for railway stations that made them part of a village, part of a town, even part of a city. There's a reason why clock towers have value, and actually having that single unifying piece, the fact that it is a clock is almost an irrelevance. It's that presence, that feature. So yes, I quite like Widmerpool. This made up name, definitely a made up name, yeah, for sure. So love this. Right, now to explain what was going on at the NRM. I'm going to get rid of my face again. Or am I going to get rid of my face? No, maybe I'll leave my face. You don't need my face. What I'm going to do is mute the desktop audio again, because I think there's a load of sound. Oh, maybe I won't, but I'll just turn it down. I'll turn it down. Tell me about sound balance. If this is too quiet, let me know. I'm going to put it down to about -40, and let's see how this goes, because I didn't have time to reduce the volumes on all the videos. So, Explorer Station. This is what I was going to see. So, this is the sort of the consultation. You can see some VR handsets there. So the people collaborating to this thing. So there's Explorer Station. You can go to the website, which I'll tease later. So it's Network Rail, it's the Design Council, it's the Glass House, which is about community-led design, DigitalUrban.place, which I think are doing some of the kind of the CAD elements, and Commonplace. It's a collaboration with a few organisations, all good stuff. It's a good point. Read About Time by David Rooney if you want to understand why the clock tower is the totem pole of industrial society, which Lin Manfu have just said. Yeah, fully agree. Go and read About Time. Very interesting. So, here is kind of what the layout looks like in the NRM at the moment. You can go tomorrow if you want to. Victoria, I think. Was it Victoria you were saying you're going later? I can't remember. Forgive me if that wasn't Victoria. But this is kind of what the layout looks like, right? So you can see lots of friends. There's Tim filming at the back, and there's Simon from the museum, and you see the team from Caro there having a kind of chatting about things. Anyway, what is going on? I'm going to pause it where I can show you. Right, so you've got this. You kind of come in from this. Oh, you come in from this side. Yeah, and then you go through the VR. I should have basically filmed this the other way around. So you go through the VR stuff. There's 2 units, and then you fill out. Actually, you know what? It's better. Just go to my next video. Oh, there's a bit of interpretation as well, so it kind of gives you some context as to what on earth this is. This is interesting because I like this for a variety of reasons, but one of them, if I press space, does it pause? No, it just. Oh, it's just going through slides. I don't want to do that. No, don't do that. Anyway, right. There we go. I'll get the hang of doing the mixed live, and still work needs to go into this anyway. So yeah, what's interesting here is a brief overview of British Rail, but it's interesting that they're saying British Rail, and then also what's interesting here is firstly that Network Rail to be renamed Great British Railways, which is interesting because that's what is explicitly saying is not happening by certain actors. But also notice look at the other column here. We're going to look around here in a second. Network Rail is descended from British Rail. I like that. That's the sort of thing that you politically could not have said even 2 years ago. So it's quite interesting to see that being said. Anyway, so there's a bit of background. There's that thing that I used earlier to talk about the history of repeatable British station design. So there's some nice stuff there for you to look at. So some interpretation. Then you join a queue. Then you end up here in these pacer seats, which is the kind of the VR sort of situation. This exhibit is open to everyone. You can just go to the museum tomorrow. It's at Shildon then for a couple of days. It's going around the whole country. I'll tease more information about that later. So I don't know what this one is because I didn't get to ride in it because I ended up chatting to too many people. But it looks interesting. Apparently the seats vibrate, so that's very exciting. And the setup is in this little kind of this little signal box is where the gubbins are. There's some gubbins here as well. There's a nice platform. So that's where the gubbins are. You can see Frank from Network Rail there sat and soaking it in, looking pleased, having a look around. Anyway, yeah, so you're sitting there. There's some VR stuff. There's another VR set here. There's 2, and we watch people kept falling over down the VR stairs. There's Anthony Dura from Network Rail. Hello, Anthony. And yes, so you kind of control it with the widget. and you wander around the station, you get a feel for it. You go out into the landscape and you can see the video in the corner. You can see here this Tim videoing, but you can see kind of what's being seen. So you can see the perception of, okay, coming off the street, what does the sort of canopy bits look like as you come in? You get to have a wander around. You can climb up on the platform and have a look around. It's good stuff. So, they've also misspelt. I don't know. They spelled the station name wrong, but it is actually real. Yeah, no, it is real. Anyway, so. All good stuff. And then you can put your feedback in. So and the intention is that there's a bit of a longer questionnaire for more detailed feedback, but also there's post-it notes where you can kind of post your things. So it's ideally post post-it notes on here. The logic is that you can post stuff, things that you think are clever, you post in the head, things that you love on the heart, things that you want to keep in the bag, and things you want to get rid of can go in the bin, which I think is kind of quite fun. There's a way to sort of, this is a feature in a museum. It's good to get in that. So yeah, there's some interesting feedback already. Like the idea of using local materials. Didn't like that all the stations looked identical. It's interesting to get that feedback. That's interesting, and it's like that's kind of the point. But it's quite interesting. So there's me. I quite like the fact that you can adapt this, so you can actually grow the station without rebuilding the whole thing as demand grows. So you can add extra canopy bits if you want to, that sort of thing. I quite like that. And the heart bit is permanence and pride. You can have you're reintroducing that thing that the railways did when they first appeared. Passenger railways started appearing in the 1820s and 30s, which is looking at permanence, looking at structural permanence, building stations that people feel are connected to, because the permanence of public transport is really important. So after all that waffling, the question kind of remains, what about Glasshoughton? Why on earth was I at Glasshoughton, and what's the relevance of this? And hopefully, I shall explain that. Log up your questions, by the way, because we'll do a Q&A, like a Q&A session momentarily. But what about Glasshoughton? Why am I talking about Glasshoughton? Why? Well, here's Glasshoughton. It's a bit windy. Don't worry about the wind. In fact, I'll turn that down. There's some wind. That's nice. There's Glasshoughton Station. That's what it looks like. And there's me holding my ticket in front of Glasshoughton Station. That's me. Yeah, this new station in a mostly forgotten corner of West Yorkshire embodies the phrase "build it and they will come perfectly." So you might be wondering. Before I natter, I'm going to put the volume back up again. Let me do some nattering, and then I'll come back to talk about things. Yeah, so you might be wondering, hello everyone, yeah, that's Glasshoughton behind me, the station that is. The Glasshoughton itself is more that way. You might be wondering why I've come here, and indeed when I was doing the social media doodad a couple of weeks ago, why I made this station my station of choice to talk about. Well, the reason that I made this station of choice my station to talk about is that this is a station that was built in 2005. It was opened in 2005, rather, and coincided with services reopening on this line, connecting up towards Leeds. And as is so often the case, demand was hopelessly underestimated, and for at least 5 years, the annual ridership was well over double what was originally predicted. In fact, there's a report by Steer Group that goes into quite a lot of detail about that. And the result is a station. Here you see it's a fairly sizable station, but it's a station with 2 bus shelters on it. They've replaced the bus shelters. They used to be the standard red Metro ones. They're now grey. Nice. But they underestimate it for a number of reasons, because firstly there's a huge amount of not very nice car-centric retail. There's also the big ski slope that's very, very hopelessly outdatedly named X-Scape. Just call it the Glasshoughton Ski Centre. That's a thing that people will know what it is, rather than calling it X-Scape. Anyway, the reason I'm going this way is because over here is a big car park. It's quite nice weather actually today. So there's a large car park. There's the way down to the platform. And as we go this way, I'm just going to spin around, because behind me is a large, or rather not nearly large enough, park and ride car park. Here it is. Park and ride car park that is pretty well connected to the M62. So the main sort of east-west Trans-Pennine motorway, and easily connected for all of this quite spread out region, kind of built up urban area really, that is West Yorkshire. And the whole of this bit of West Yorkshire is just super
a few fields separate large towns. Castleford over there and Glasshoughton kind of near. Glasshoughton itself is about 15,000. Castleford in total is 40 plus thousand. These are large population centres, and Castleford Station has just had a bit of a rebuild. In fact, its second platform is opening. That second platform is opening, well, it's opening mostly for it to be a diversion route. Actually, there are no plans to retain that platform in long-term service, because. But the service is going that way, and the other station here is at Glasshoughton. There's two stations, and they're both very well used. They're incredibly well used. The train I just got, it's the middle of the day. It's the middle of the day on a day that shouldn't be that. There's no reason for it to be particularly busy, and yet it's absolutely rammed. The trains are all rammed.
Yeah, so the trains are all rammed. Mike, I am wearing a lapel mic. I quite like the 3D nature of turning to and from the mic. It's fine, people can still hear me. Yeah, so here's cars, and there was a railway. I always quite like that. So there's a nice thin railway with trees. That's nice, isn't it? And then a much lower capacity road with a good grief, a huge number of cars. Frightening. But anyway, that's the thing. Whatever. Oh, let's very briefly kind of look at. I'm conscious of time, but let me go over to open. Street Map, in fact, let me go to OpenStreetMap because I want to show you. There we go. I'm in Wales. That's fine. I'm going to show everyone. In fact, I'm going to just do this and then do this. There we are. So, where was I? Where is Glasshoughton? Or Glasshoughton, sometimes pronounced. But all the people, in fact, the train manager, the ticket person collecting tickets, corrected someone else to Glasshoughton, so I'll stick with that if the locals are correcting people. Here's Wakefield. Why have I gone to Wakefield? I want to be going up to Castleford. So the train, I should have put the video in because I have this. So you come out of Leeds. This big old line that it serves like it serves like 120,000 people. This line, it comes into Castleford, reverses horribly. In a bit of a messy way, this way. Eventually, rather than doing it on a crossover here, it'll do it on a crossover here, which is what I'm currently working on. Form B just issued. Through here, this is why I picked Glasshoughton, by the way. But anyway, then to Glasshoughton, which was opened in late 2004, December 2004, I think. There's the big ski doodad, and the car park there, and you can see that it's right next to this is the M62. So it's actually a really good position. This is a station that's really good for commuting into, getting into Leeds without worrying about parking and so on. So great, fine, that's terrific. And it's on this nice section of straight, and then you go into Pontefract, and then Nottingley, and then disappear off wherever you want to after that point. And this should really be an should be an S-band type service, and it isn't. It's one train an hour, which is hopeless. But it's worth just pointing out this whole area. This is a hugely densely populated. Let's just pull up the kind of the regular. OpenStreetMap, you can see that this is a really densely populated area. This is sizable population centres here. And hello to everyone in Wakey, yes. Yeah, exactly, Martha, you're right. It is a running joke about how rubbish the services are. And yes, there are lots of options that you could do to spin that round, a new proper Castleford station, or there are options that you could do. It's for me, it typifies the whole rail network, which is that it's crap. The rail network is crap, and it's crap in that it doesn't make any sense. It isn't designed at all to connect our population centres. Several disparate companies all competing with each other to carry mineral goods around. That's not a useful way to consider. And most of them are oriented towards London, actually, so they don't make very much sense at all for connecting into Leeds. It's hopeless. And and I will be looking at in a future episode what the rail network should look like for this area. If you were going to redesign it from scratch and ignore all the current railways, what it should look like, and then looking at how you then change the current network to match what that network should look like, just like we're going to do for the East Midlands soon as well. So that's what it's all about. But you can see it's a very populated area, dismal rail network. It doesn't make any sense. It's lots of things that kind of work, but then get messed up by things like the Castleford reversal and by single track sections and all this mess. So there's all that sort of stuff. Where is the new White Rose Station? I can't remember where the new White Rose Station is actually. Where is it? I should know that. I know where the new Leeds Bradford Parkway station is up here. The new Thorpe Park station is over here. Anyway. They're also building this stupid road up here that's a right old mess. That's just, why are they building it? What a waste of everything. Anyway, that's the area. So that's a bit of context in the area. So Glasshoughton. It's it's fine. It's a fine station. It is Metro with the Metro branding, and it's got a certain size to it, and it's got these sort of glorified bus shelters that are slightly smarter than a bus shelter, but they're still just a bus shelter. There's lots of people shouting loudly. I can turn that down. Sorry, I was getting distracted. And just sat for Cottingley. Oh, thanks, Benjamin Cowell. Lovely. Yeah, so that's that, and it has some features. It's got the station. It's got this tap in, tap out thing, which is not really as good as I was. In fact, I have absolutely no idea how this system works. Just no idea how that works. But it's the sort of thing that probably would be good if it had been allowed to grow properly and be an actual tap in, tap out system. But I think it's like northern specific. I have no idea how it works, and it's never something I've even looked into because I presume it just won't work. But it was heaving. I got off the train, and it was absolutely heaving. Loads of people got off the train. I can't remember. I should have counted the numbers properly, but this video doesn't even capture all of them. But loads and loads of people got off the train and reached up the stairs, off to go and do things. Clearly, pretty frequent, pretty busy railway. This was in the middle of the day. It was like a 1 p.m. train.
So, given that the station is fairly sizable.
Wait a minute, let me go back here and unmute my face and then go again. Anyway, right, let's say some stuff.
So, given that the station is fairly sizable, okay, it's got bus shelters, but it's a fairly sizable station. It has, all these features going for it. This huge catchment area, not just the local 15,000-ish people of Glasshoughton, not just the leisure complex, not just all that stuff. But a lot, the connectivity for park and ride, the potential on that front as well, connecting buses. Why is it, why is ridership, bumping up against? And indeed, it's not. People are wanting to travel more from this station.
Yeah, why is that? Why is that me? Why indeed? It's a nice enough station, right? What I like here, and I pointed this out when I had a chat with the architecture team there's Xscape. So you can see there's all this money being spent on the civil engineering. Let me just, I won't pause it, but all this money spent on the civil engineering, millions, probably the best part of 10 million quid or whatever it was, way overpriced. And then probably the best part of like 30, 40 grand spent on the, 40 grand spent on the thing that the passengers actually need to use, which I always find a bit of a joke. Just really frustrating. Yes, anyway.
Fundamentally, stations across the country, suburban stations particularly, stations in built-up areas like these, the ones across West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, are not going to improve ridership. You're not going to get better, more people travelling, modal shift towards rail off cars if you have a 1 hour train. It's as fundamental as that. And you can make the train bigger, you can add a couple of cars, but the reality is frequency is freedom. And unless you have a frequent service that people know that they can turn up to the station and rely on, people are not going to travel by train in greater numbers than they do currently. And how do we achieve that? Well, okay, yes, we can certainly upgrade these lines. It's absolutely crying out for electrification. There are lots of junctions that could do with reorienting, and particularly this one, the fact that we have to reverse in Castleford is obviously, again, it's necessary given the track layout, but it's also ridiculous. Fundamentally, we need to be taking the long distance services out of the way, getting the long distance services out of the way in Leeds. And that means Northern Powerhouse Rail needs to upgrade the junctions through Leeds, potentially making use of Holbeck Junction, but also you've got to get those long distance services that should be sat in the T platforms that HS2 was supposed to build, get those out of the current station and onto those new platforms. Talk about being car centric. Without doing that, without that release of capacity, you're not going to be able to get more services in through the congested tracks on the approaches to Leeds. So it's systemic, and much as I think it's good that we try and have it, I think it's good to have a unified design language of what stations should be, make people more proud of what their stations are. Fundamentally, a station is a means by which people get onto trains, and if there's only 1 hour, there's not much to bring them here, is there?
Yeah, 2-car stop. How embarrassing for a system, exactly as you say, Martha. 158 is a joke. Firstly, it's a long distance train. It's not designed for quick on and off. Secondly, it's just tiny. It's 150 seats an hour. It's absolutely rubbish.
Funnily enough, if you provide a 1 hourly service with 140-ish, 150 tops maybe, seats per hour in each direction, even though the train's only 25 minutes, we're only 11 miles from Glasshountain here. People won't use the service quite as much, although every train is full. So if you run more trains, chances are more people will travel. But there you are. As I said, frequency is freedom. It's not just about the station building that puts people off, but there we go.
And kind of with that, I think it's... I don't want to put a downer on the Explore Station process and the new hub station. I think it's fantastic, right? And indeed, if you want to get involved if you want to go and see one of these consultation sessions and actually experience it yourself, go and chat to the people involved in developing the new station design, the repeatable station design, the hub station system, then you can go to explorestation.commonplace.is. Or just search Explore Station Consultation or Explore Station Network Rail, and you'll get the link pretty easily. And you can go and find, and they're going around quite a few locations. They're going, in fact, let's immediately. Oh, you know what? I did a thing for this. So here's the website. It's to share your ideas. You can sort of put your email address in and say and keep updated about it. There's some stuff at the hub station. There's a nice website. They're saying what the process is. So they've done they've done Think Station, Reimagine Railways Competition, Design Development, Explore Station now, Design Development, then kind of delivering for communities, and then next it's detailed design and delivery guidance, the station, and then the station delivery, actually seeing it happen. So it's a nice website to show you what's going on. And if you want to have your say, well, firstly, they're showing different places where you can look at the responses that have happened, different responses. But you can now book to attend their events. So it's very easy to find that on the website. You click on the front. So in fact, if you go back to home, you just click, just go down here and click book now to attend events. Easy. And you can go through. And so there's York, which is today and tomorrow. Okay, too late today. Actually, it's not. It finished at 7. Tomorrow you can go and look if you're in York. 7th and 8th of May, it's in Shildon. It's in Bluecoat Chambers in Liverpool on the 11th of May. Dinner provided, apparently, which is exciting. That's 6 till 8:30. Manchester Immersive Experience at Mossy, the Museum of Science and Industry. That's the 11th, 12th and 13th of May. There's another Manchester workshop on the 12th of May, specifically for families from 2 till 4:30, and so on. Hereford, Paisley, Brighton, and then an online workshop that they're having on Zoom on the 26th of May. So not as many sessions as I'd like, Frank. Then actually, everyone on the project was saying we'd like to do more of this, but fun. It's expensive to set these up, and time is short. The sketches are really nice. I like these. These are the sorts of sketches I do for my design job. Actually, I love these. In fact, frequent watchers of the show might have seen some of these who also have done work with me, particularly those who have done work with me on gauging projects. So yeah, I do like this style. This is the sort of style I do when I'm doing like survey extent explanation and design intent. Kind of sketches. Anywho, that's all good stuff. So if you want to see more of that, then go to explorestation.commonplace.is. Oh. So, Martha would like dinner. Yeah, me too. I've not had food yet. Let's go big face. Hello, everyone. I hope that was all right. Let's look at the questions. Richard Smith saying odd it's not in London at all. No, I don't think it is odd that it's not in London at all. London's fine. I think it's good that this is not taking a London-centric approach. Yes, this might be used in and around London, but actually it's other places I think that'll benefit most from it, so go look at them. We're not done yet, everyone. I know that the numbers are sort of pitching down a little bit, but let me go through this chat. Oh, yeah, you can't see me pointing at things because my mouse wasn't showing. Yes, it's fine. I think people got the general gist. Chuck me your questions now if I've missed them. I'm going to go back through and try and... Okay, right. Owen O'Neill is saying, so where are the new stations going to get rolled out first? Northumberland line, question mark? No. That's an open question. And there are kind of 3 different ways that it might work. One of them is that it just gets absorbed into the general station renewal processes, which is probably a bit slower. The next is that more new station or station upgrade projects inherit this as a kind of the first in class sort of roll out a few of these. And the third is that actually just some new stations that haven't got any work planned at all, some existing stations that haven't got any work planned at all will have this rolled out as some test case. Actually, I think all 3 it should be involved in the renewal thing long term, but I think picking a couple of projects to insert this system into, and also just picking some stations to just do it from scratch with, some existing stations to do it from scratch with is probably the right approach. They need to really stress test this. So, but they don't know where it's going to be. because obviously there's a lot of politics at play at the moment, and also we don't know exactly when this is going to be finished. Now, it's right that this doesn't get rushed, so who knows exactly. Martha corrected me, the line was not reopened. Well, no, that's true. The station was opened, the service kind of was running through there. The Leeds Pontivia CAS had been a thing for ages, yeah, for sure. Richard Smith, the history of GB station standardization is the XKCD. We now have 14 standards comic. How do we avoid this, and how do these last a decent number of years for a change? Yes, very good point. A lot's been learned from the Network Rail Modular Station system from the mid-2000s, and for sure there's not, and it has to. This project has to get through the GBR process. It was like the main thing I was saying. The main risk is that it has to get through that process. But if it does, I think this will stick. Peter Hendy cares about this project specifically. I think this will happen. I think a lot of effort has gone into this, and the approach that it's being absorbed into it's essentially being absorbed into the new version of this, the corporate identity manual. It will become a key feature of the railways, of the GB rail network going forward. So I think it'll become part of the GBR process as well. Keep chucking me more questions. So dead cat might be a better option. No, that is a dead cat. It does have a dead cat. Look, it's here. I can show you. It is a dead cat. That's a dead cat. That's what that is. It's fine. It's not too windy. It works absolutely fine. I don't mind it getting a bit quiet when I look away. That's you'd have that no matter what I had. I'd always end up with that. It's not something you can avoid. Can't see that. Yeah, fine. The way trains wander across poorly aligned corridors in reverse randomly in that part of West Yorkshire reminds me of bashing rural lines in Czechia, Poland, and the Balkans. Yeah, for sure. Just south of Cotton. Thanks, Benjamin Cowell. Yeah. Tom, as part of the fixing the railways, how do you fix the pricing? Discussion of different ways. Yeah, that's a whole. I'm not even going to get into that. It's just a whole different discussion. But yeah, that's how do you fix pricing? Oof. Richard Smith again. British station design and urban planning makes some quite large, busy area stations feel like a small town without much demand, especially compared with their Dutch equivalents. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Yeah, Martha pointing out how much. Hopefully, I did in my little piece to camera there. You got the idea of how much Glasshoughton serves and how much of an important station it is, and was massively underestimated as such. Agree with frequency is freedom. Yep. Upcoming Northumberland line is a 30-minute timetable. Not very good. Victoria, should the station architecture have changed if the train frequency is increased? Oh yeah, I kind of addressed that. Yeah, it does adapt. Sketches rendering of architecture look better than reality. Yeah, that's the renderite question. Yeah, Jamie Bailey about is this just for whenever a station needs to be rebuilt? Probably yes, but they might do some pilots on existing stations that don't need to be rebuilt. I'm hoping that there'll be a bit of a rolling program of doing this, but that's a bit of a political question, but it's a good one. Hopefully I kind of answered it earlier as well. David Shepherd asks, how easy will it be to expand modular stations? I think it will be quite straightforward. They can. I don't know about reusing elements needing to be removed, but certainly it'd be easy to expand stations with the modular stations as required. That's kind of one of the requirements of the system, so that's good. What happens in 20 years when architectural trends change? Well, the idea of this is that it can be a little bit, can evolve a little bit, but also, if we do 20 years of new stations with this approach, then great, it'll be as successful as Clasp ended up being, even if people don't like it. I'm fine with that. And I think I do think this is a reasonably timeless design, but bearing in mind that a lot of construction needs to be happening in the next 20 years, doubling rail usage by the middle of the century, I think that's actually fine. Any chance of getting Barry Doe in on fares? Possibly, Simon. Possibly. Yeah, Martha's saying. Yeah, agreed, Martha. I don't think it's a huge problem for things to change up every decade. Let's see. So, okay, lots of good discussion there. If you jump me some more questions, I'll scoop up any last ones at the end, but I think that's kind of covered everything. Let's go back to Get Me to My Face. So, it's available in the usual podcasting locations. Those ones, all 6+ of these, you can get it wherever you want it to be. What else? Oh, tomorrow. I didn't put a plug in, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tomorrow is... it's fine. I'm going to do it now. In fact, I'm going to go big face. No, I'm not. I'm going to do the end. I'm waffling. Podcasting platforms, patreon.com/GarethDense for the Patreon, masket.co.uk/collection/railnatter for the merch, paypal.me/GarethDense for abuse directions, and GarethDense.co.uk/Discord for more of the YouTube chat happening. Next week, episode 113, we are going back to the Carment report. To finish off, hopefully, good agree. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but we are running out of stuff to go through now. I'm going to then, once I've done that, I'll go back and rename the episodes and kind of reorient them into a bit of a more coherent series, because just having part 4 underneath isn't hugely helpful. But that'll be happening next week. Let's go back to my big face. Tomorrow night, tune in to Secrets of the London Underground if that's the sort of thing you want to do, because it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Another Tim episode, Tim and City. Bringing us some Secrets of London Underground. That should be fun. The thing I was going to say is... well, that was the thing I was going to say. There's more questions. So, Master Trams. Do you know if it's possible to add and take away from the kit apart? So, to take and add options for house consultancy companies to use. For in-house consultancy company, or for for kind of design. So this will be for the design consultants to use. It'll be an open source kit of parts for anyone to pick up. So even if there's someone trying to make do renders of a station for some housing developer or whatever, they can get this kit. They can get hold of the CAD work for this kit of parts. It's going to be open source. It's going to be entirely kind of open source really. Richard Smith, are there any efforts to try to reuse adapted existing facilities first rather than rebuild? Yes, so this can be used to plug into existing stations without reconstructing anything. The idea is that actually it's enough, the organic nature, that look, the architectural style, can actually be fairly complementary or not intrusive to existing station stuff. So even older station buildings, that maybe the station building exists but isn't a station in station use, maybe it's a higher cottage or whatever, you might be able to add some of the canopies and still kind of be in keeping with it. So there are approaches to that. Tom. It's just Tom. If the concept of the modular station being an integral part of the community it's in, then does the design need to be wider to include tram bus hubs instead of just parking? Yeah, this is an interesting point that I raised about to what extent will this integrate with other systems. Yes, it will integrate bus as well, and cycling. The idea is that it can incorporate that stuff, but yes, there is the argument, and I had a discussion slightly adjacent to this about identity. There is an argument that there is a situation where there's Wales and Scotland are way ahead of England now in terms of beginning. In fact, Wales is ahead of everyone in terms of integrating. That consultation that I'm hoping to get someone to talk about, the integration of bus, rail, tram, light rail, whatever it happens to be. They're way ahead on that, and I think that this would need to account for that, and I think it does. And yes, you could add extra things to the kit of parts depending on what's needed. I think that it will certainly evolve as it's better understood. What channel is Secrets of the London Underground on? It's on Yesterday TV, so you can go and watch it on Yesterday TV. You can watch it online quite easily if you're in the UK. If you're not, soz. What else? Simon Wadsworth, missed the beginning. Is the footbridge lift standardisation part of this? Not part of this project. It's a separate project, but they are going to. There's a little bit of a conflict in that they don't entirely talk to. Well, they are different with different aims. So it's going to be a little bit like that is not actually integrated into. They're not entire bit of arse elbow, should you say, but there was a competition, if you remember, for the new station footbridge, and it was a separate competition to the Explorer station, to this hub station thing. So a little bit of frustration that they're not connected there. Actually, that's kind of annoying, but ideally they can the footbridge can use materials that are being proposed as part of the hub station designs, and that'll tie things together. So great. I think that's it for questions. Let's wrap up before it's 1:15 and I've got a niece to go and entertain. So and also some dinner to eat, as all of you do. We'll talk about branding soon, I'm sure. Plenty to talk about on branding of GBR. I think that's something to come back to in the future. In any case, everyone, thanks for joining me. I hope this is okay. Sorry, it's a bit messy with me jumping in and out of videos and such, but hopefully it worked not too horribly in audio only. I don't know what the sound balance will be like. Fine. I will see you all. David Shepherd asked, would it be possible for the modular station to include big art? Yes, so they'll have maps, big art. That's a possibility to kind of connect it together. Has Jeff introduced me to the fellow from the hometown? No, he hasn't. Right. No, you're not too slow. It's fine, David, and you're fine, Mike. Cheerio, cheerio, cheerio.